Welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, and we're here to explore the world of teas from China, from India, from Japan, from many different places. Today what I've got here is one of the more lesser known realms of tea, the Pu'erh. We'll be talking a little bit about that. It comes pressed in a cake, that's why you see this big clump here. I want us to look at this clump, so I'm going to use some of the looser leaf that I have kind of loosened up, pulled apart, broken off of this of a clump of a cake, so that I'm getting enough there to kind of cover the bottom area of my. Actually, you might as well just throw the rest of that in. My gaiwan here should cover about the inch to inch and a half bottom diameter there. I'm going to add my water. It's been brought to a boil. An early boil. It's been allowed to cool for around a minute. It's still got plenty of heat to it. I'm going to add enough water here so a little bit sits above the rim of my 3-ounce gaiwan. Let me set this water out of the way and put my lid on and talk about this tea. This is from the Canton Tea Company. Let me set that in the middle. Keep that lid on tight there. That looks good. Now, the Canton Tea Company in the UK. This is their 2011 special Pu'erh, which means special being in that they had these particular cakes pressed for them according to their request. So it's kind of a customized, limited edition Pu'erh from Canton Tea Company. A 10 gram sample is available though, so just similar to what you just saw. A piece of that pressed cake. I think if I recall correctly, around 250 grams is the size of the full. They call it a cake, but it's a disc shaped. Usually something around that size. Okay, so that you can get a full disc cake, or you can get a 10 gram sample like this for 10 grams, available for $6.23. This is from the Yiwu Mountain area, which is in the Mengla area of Yunnan province of China. This was a spring 2011 harvest. With a Pu'erh, you can also get into the grade size of the leaves. Depending on how the recipe of a particular kind of Pu'erh, you can use different grades. Sometimes even you may see on the outer surface a certain size leaf. When you break it open, look on the inside, a different size or grade leaf. But grade 6 was used for this particular, and it is a big leaf, and I believe what they're referring to is the Dayet varietal of the Pu'erh leaf there. So, going to be able to look at this tea. I'm actually steeping this a little bit longer than what you often do. I should go ahead and mention, because it is a 2011, because and the way that it was done, this is a sheng or a raw Pu'erh. This is the kind of Pu'erh that is meant to be set aside and will mature through time and with age. So not necessarily recommended, or you will not necessarily get the full potential of this tea by drinking it now. You often want to wait 5, 10, even more years and store this tea in the right conditions to really bring out exceptional qualities in this tea. So we're going to taste this tea as it is now and see what kind of potential it may have. I'm actually going to decant this because its Pu'erhs can get quite intense, strong in character. So I'm going to decant and just set that aside for just a moment. Keep the lid on tight, hopefully to seal in some of the aromas there. But talking about this particular, like I said, because it was pressed into a cake and that piece of that cake was then broken off, you can see that this has greener, yellower type colors to it. It still has some light brown component there to it, so it's a range of a paler brownish yellow type color over towards, even as you see some of the more delicate leaves, which are and tips there. They're silvery. They're fuzzy. You can actually make out on the surface the cloth, the material that was laid on top of this to press as it was pressed into its shape. Kind of see some of that texture in the press in the surface of the leaves here as the pressure was applied. So that looks to be the outer surface, as smooth as it was. As this was broken away, revealing some of the inner surface here, you can also see some various size of leaves, anywhere from an inch or more in size, down to, say, 3/4, maybe even half an inch of some of these silvery tip buds or needles there. So it's got the kind of the characteristic green Pu'erh aromas, freshly cut hay somewhere in there. There's a light. There's another component there. Now, I always have trouble describing it. It's first reaction, it comes close to a green raw strawberry. There's something kind of potentially sweet in there, but yet greenish in it, immature in its component. You find that a lot with, I find that sometimes with other teas that have been gone through similar processes, even those that have been kind of set out to somewhat dry, somewhat finish in the sun, that sometimes that component is there as well. So move on then. Before I get into this liquor, I'm eager to give this a taste, but I should also give this wet leaf a look and a smell. Still, the green component of the Pu'erh coming out. There's something that smells like if you had a bag of wet nickels. There's this kind of metallic type smell coming off here. Still, you have a lighter, more delicate, wet hay type of smell, although it's not as seasoned. It's again lighter, gentler, and so you also get something along the lines, because this has a greener aspect to it, a bit of lightly boiled, steamed even green beans. Okay, looking at these leaves, though, one here, not a fairly decent one here, stuck to the lid, so I'll go ahead and open that up. Looks like a portion of a leaf, not a full leaf. You can tell these are, this as a full leaf, this was a fairly broad, long in size. Another example here, similar. You don't see a lot of oxidation, a lot of rust type blotches or on the edge of this leaf. Actually, on this particular one, I don't see any. Let me move around here so I find something. There's a bit of a stem with leaf there. So I'm also going to look, see if I can find some of those more delicate pieces, some of those finer, smaller, younger looking leaf portions, components there. Here's a more tender looking, younger looking leaf portion, not actual bud there, but it's a paler, almost a yellowish type color. So set that in there as well. But generally, these look to be leaves that were fairly close in size, or at least in maturity. Not necessarily, some of them larger, smaller, but still seem to be similar in levels, maturity level, grown to about the same degree. So I'm going to move on then to talk about this liquor. Let me kind of swirl that around. And what you see here is it's yellowish, but it's got a little bit more of closer over towards an orange type element to it there. Okay, so So it's kind of a golden orange yellow. Give it a pour here. Still a bit of a fermented grass. Like I mentioned, that wet hay type of smell. Those are coming out. A little bit of a, like I mentioned, something about the taste of a green strawberry coming out as well. Other things I note, it's not an overly hard, even though this was a fairly young tea, a young Puerh, it does not have an overly harsh, strong, astringent bite to it. It's got it has a light, thin, slightly astringent, which again plays well with the texture, so that it gets a lighter, gentle kind of, again, light, gentle brothiness to it. Very thin type coating there. Aftertaste, you're still getting some of that kind of wet or hay-like component to it, although it's not off-putting. It's still, again, a green kind of strawberry type. Strawberry indicate, with a little bit of that kind of tart with yet sweet, but because it's green, it hasn't really fully reached a thick, juicy, tangy, rich, heavy sweetness either. Again, the hay aspect though is not heavy. It's not strong. The astringency is gentler. So this is the kind of tea that, at this glance, would be one that could mature well. This was the first steeping. Off-camera steepings, subsequent, I did more than one steeping, and so subsequent steepings, again, gave me a fairly mellowed taste experience, texture, and again, mellowed astringency there, like what I'm experiencing here. So that this is the kind of tea that has potential to age well. This is one that I would come back. You definitely want to go to Canton tea, either store it yourself or see if Canton tea is going to keep and age their own teas and offer these later on. So looking at this tea, it's a young tea. It has, like I said, it has potential. Comparing it to other teas that were young and also had potential, I would give this tea a 90. Come back. If you're looking for a tea to kind of age and mature on your own and learn from that process, this might be a good one to start off with. So come back to Walker Tea Review to find those teas that are building in potential.